यशोदानन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यमुनातीरवनचारी जय यमुना तीरवनचारी राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। श्री राधा माधव की जय। नरसिंह भगवान की जय। पंचतत्व की जय। षड गोस्वामी की जय। गुरु परंपरा की जय। श्री गोपाल की जय। श्री गुरुदेव की जय। टैगोर प्रेमन हरि बोल। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत्. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of God Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashta prayesha badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So Hare Krishna, Prabhu Mataji, welcome all of you. Thank you for joining this Bhagavatam session, and thank you for keeping the appointment from Krishna. So today we'll be discussing from fourth canto, fourth chapter, the two verses 17 and 18.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, then with Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So 17th verse. Karno vidhaya nirayat yada kalpaishe धर्मा वितर्षिणिभिर्निभिर् अस्य माने चिन्ध्यात् प्रसह्य रुषतीम् असतीं प्रभुश्चेज जिह्वामसूनपि ततो विसृजेत् स धर्मः कर्णौ पिधाय निरया यदकल्पयिषे धर्मा वितर्षिणिभिर्निभिर् अस्य माने चिन्ध्यात् प्रसह्य रुषतीम् असतीं प्रभुश्चेत् जिह्वामसूनपि ततो विसृजेत् स धर्मः कर्णौ पिधाय निरयात् यदकल्पयिषे धर्मा वितारशृणिभिर्नृभिरस्य माने छिन्द्यात् प्रसह्य रुषतीम् असतीं प्रभुश्चेत् जिह्वामसूनपि ततो विसृजेत् स धर्मः. Any one of you can recite.
Hare Krishna, may I?
Yes, Prabhuji.
कर्णावृताय निरयात् यदकल्पयिषे धर्मावितर्यसृणिभिर्निरुभिरस्य माने चिन्त्यात् प्रसख्य ऋषितीम् असतीं प्रभुश्चेत् जिह्वामसूनपि ततो विसृजेत् स धर्मः.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Translation purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, you please hear the translation purport. Sati continued, if one hears an irresponsible person blaspheme the master and control of religion, one should block his ears and go away if unable to punish him. But if one is able to kill, then one should by force cut out the blasphemer's tongue and kill the offender. And after that, one should give up his own life. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The argument offered by Sati is that a person who vilifies a great personality is the lowest of all creatures. But by the same argument, Daksha could also defend himself by saying that since he was a Prajapati, the master of many living creatures and one of the great officers of the great universal affairs, his position was so exalted that Sati should accept his good qualities instead of vilifying him. The answer to that argument is that Sati was not vilifying but defending. If possible, she should have cut out Daksha's tongue because he blasphemed Lord Shiva. In other words, since Lord Shiva is the protector of religion, a person who vilifies him should be killed at once. And after killing such a person, one should give up one's life. That is the process. But because Daksha happened to be the father of Sati, she decided not to kill him, but to give up her own life in order to compensate for the great sin she had committed by hearing blasphemy of Lord Shiva. The instruction set forth here in Srimad Bhagavatam is that one should not tolerate at any cost the activities of a person who vilifies or blasphemes an authority. If one is a Brahmana, he should not give up his body because by doing so, he would be responsible for killing a Brahmana. Therefore, a Brahmana should leave the place or block his ears so that he will not hear the blasphemy. If one happens to be a Kshatriya, he has the power to punish any man. Therefore, a Kshatriya should at once cut out the tongue of the vilifier and kill him. But as far as the Vaishyas and Shudras are concerned, they should immediately give up their bodies. Sati decided to give up her body because she thought herself to be among the Shudras and Vaishyas. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 9.32, Striyo Vaishyas Tatha Shudraha. Women, laborers, and mercantile class are on the same level. Thus, since it is recommended that Vaishyas and Shudras should immediately give up their bodies upon hearing blasphemy of an exalted person like Lord Shiva, she decided to give up her life. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai. For the 18th verse. Atastavottpannam idam kalevaram nidharayishe shitikantagarhinah jagdasya mohadi vishuddhi mandaso जुगुप्सितस्योद्धरणं प्रचक्षते अतस्तवोत्पन्नमिदं कलेवरं निधारयिष्ये क्षितिकण्ठगर्हिणः जग्दस्य मोहादिविशुद्धिमन्दसो जुगुप्सितस्योद्धरणं प्रचक्षते अतस्तवोत्पन्नमिदं कलेवरम् न धारयिष्ये क्षितिकण्ठगर्हिणः जग्धस्य मोहादिविशुद्धिमन्दसो जुगुप्सितस्योद्धरणं प्रचक्षते. Anybody wants to recite? Please go ahead.
Hare
May
Krishna.
I, Prabhu?
Yes, go
May I,
ahead.
Prabhu?
Yes, please go ahead.
अतस्तवोत् हरे कृष्ण अतस्तवोत्पन्नमिदं कलेवरं न धारयिष्ये शितिकण्ठगर्हिणः जग्धस्य मोहाद्दिविशुद्धिमन्दसो जुगुप्सितस्योद्धरणं प्रचक्षते. हरे कृष्ण.
Actually, Archana Mataji, you wanted to recite this.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
May I, Prabhu? Yeah, thank
Please,
you,
Mataji.
Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Atastavottpannam idam kalevaram nadharayishe shitikantagarhinah jagdasya mohabhi vishuddhimandaso jugupsitasyo prachakshate. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Translation and purport is given by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So please hear translation purport. Therefore, I shall no longer bear this unworthy body, which has been received from you, who have blasphemed Lord Shiva. If someone has taken food which is poisonous, the best treatment is to vomit. Purport. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Since Sati was the representation of the external potency of the Lord, it was in her power to vanquish many universes, including many dakshas. But in order to save her husband from the charge that he employed his wife Sati to kill Daksha, because he could not do so due to his inferior position, she decided to give up her body. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki. Om Gyan Tamrandasya ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सगणरघुनाथामितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सगणलिता श्रीविशाखातांश्च हे कृष्णकरुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभयेव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्णा चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे योऽन्तः प्रविश्य मम वाचमिमां प्रसुप्तां सञ्जीवयति अखिल शक्तिधरस्वधाम्ना अन्यां च हस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान्नमो भगवते शाय तुभ्यम् मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयति गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुनाथाय नमो विष्णुवाय विष्णुविष्णुवै महाविष्णुसंहितानां नमो विष्णुदेवाय जय श्री कृष्ण। So Hare Krishna, Prabhu Mataji's. So as you just saw, the title of this chapter is Sati quits her body. So the two verses we recited was 4, 4, 17 and 18. So we'll discuss this. And the previous chapter was entitled Talks between Lord Shiva and Sati. See, in this chapter, from verse 11 onwards, now Sati started speaking. See, in the previous verse, 16th verse, from the purport, Prabhupada says, it is useless to condemn a great personality like Lord Shiva. And that is being stated by his wife Sati to establish the supremacy of her husband. The position of Lord Shiva is accepted by Lord Brahma. So Daksha, who is Sati's father, should also recognize him. So that was the point of Sati's statement. See, Sati, she did not actually come to her father's house to participate in that function. Although before coming, we saw that she was pleading with her husband, Lord Shiva, that she wanted to see her sisters and mother. So that was only a plea. Okay? But for actually at her heart, she maintained the idea that she would convince her father, Daksha, that it was useless to continue being envious of Lord Shiva. So that was her main purpose. So when she was unable to convince her father, she gave up the body which he had given her, as we will see in the coming verses. So in the 17th purport, we just saw, right, where Prabhupada is telling, the argument offered by Sati is that a person who vilifies or offends a great personality is the lowest of all creatures. And again, Prabhupada gives an argument. Like, even like Daksha could also argue, and he can defend himself, right? Saying that son Daksha, he is a Prajapati, the master of many living creatures. So he's one of the great officers of the great universal affairs also, right? So his position also was exalted. So Sati should have accepted his only good qualities instead of vilifying him. That he could have given his argument. That's what Prabhupada is giving both sides. But Prabhupada is very nicely says in this purport, right? The answer to that argument is that Sati was not vilifying, but defending. She was not vilifying Daksha. She was defending whom? Her husband. See, if possible, she could have cut out Daksha's tongue because he blasphemed Lord Shiva. See, since Lord Shiva is a protector of religion, a person who vilifies him should be killed at once. And after killing such a person, one should give up one's life. So that is the process, Prabhupada says in that purport, in the current purport. But because Daksha happened to be the father of Sati, she decided not to kill him, but to give up her own life. Why? In order to compensate for the great sin she had committed. What was the sin she committed? She heard, by hearing the blasphemy of Lord Shiva, she heard Daksha blaspheming Lord Shiva. She heard that. So she considered that as a great sin. That's why she compensated by giving up her own life. See, the instruction Prabhupada gives a very wonderful. He says the instruction which is given, set forth in Bhagavatam is that one should not tolerate at any cost. One should not tolerate at any cost the activities of a person who vilifies or blasphemes an authority. If one is a Brahmana, he should not give up his body. See, now we saw if somebody vilifies an authority like Lord Shiva and all, then he should kill him and give his body also. But Prabhupada gives very logical statements. He says if one is a Brahmana, he should not give up his body because by doing so, he would be responsible for killing a Brahmana, which is all the greatest offense. Therefore, a Brahmana should leave the place or block his ears so that he will not hear the blasphemy. If one happens to be a Kshatriya, he has the power to punish any man. Therefore, a Kshatriya should at once cut out the tongue of the vilifier and kill him. But as far as Vaishyas and Shudras, they should immediately give their bodies. So Sati decided to give up her body because she thought herself to be among the Shudras and Vaishyas. Prabhupada says in the purport, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 9.32, Sriyo Vaishyas Tata Shudra. Women, laborers, and the mercantile class are on the same level. So since it is recommended that Vaishyas and Shudras should immediately give up their bodies upon hearing the blasphemy of an exalted person like Lord Shiva, she decided to give up her life. See in Chaitanya Charitamrita 15.261, Madhya, Prabhupada says in his Bhakti Sandarbha 265, Srila Jiva Goswami quotes from Srimad Bhagavatam 10:74-40. Nindam bhavata shunvams tat parasya janasya va tato napaiti yaso api yati adha sukrtachyutah. That is, if one does not immediately if one does not leave upon hearing the Lord or Lord's devotees being blasphemed, he falls down from devotional service. Just by hearing somebody blaspheming a devotee, you have to leave, right? And if you don't leave, just still go on hearing, you fall down from devotional service. So similarly, Lord Shiva's wife states, in Bhagavatam in this current verse. So if one hears a responsible blasphemy of the master and control of religion, he should block his ears and go away if unable to punish him. But if one is able to kill, then one should by force cut out the blasphemer's tongue and kill the offender. And after that, he should give up his own life. That was the translation of 4417, right? Is Lord Shiva, he understood that Sati, being the youngest daughter of Daksha, she could present the case of Lord Shiva's purity of purpose. And so, thereby she could be able to mitigate the misunderstanding between Daksha and himself. But such a compromise was not attained. And Sati was deliberately insulted by her father by not receiving properly when she visited his house, right? Of course, he went without being invited, but still, nobody, daughter or son, no need for invitation. But he insulted her. So Sati herself could have killed her father, Daksha, no? Because she is a personified material energy and has immense power to kill and create within this material universe. So in Brahma Samhita, her strength is described. She is capable of creating and dissolving many universes. Oh, see, although she is so powerful, she acts under the direction of Supreme Personality God Krishna as his shadow. See, it would not have been difficult for Sati to punish her father. But she thought that since she was his daughter, it was not proper for her to kill him. So she decided to give up her own body, which she had obtained from Daksha. And Daksha did not even check her when she was giving her body, right? So much. See, although the most dear Lord Shiva appears not to observe all the rules and regulations of the Vedas, he is not affected by such disobedience. But a common man who wants to imitate Lord Shiva, he is mistaken. See, a common man must observe all the rules and regulations of the Vedas. Which person who is in transcendental position, no, he does not need to observe. So what happened? We can see in the Daksha found fault with Lord Shiva for not observing all the strict rules and regulations of the Vedas. But Sati, she asserted that he had no need to observe such rules. So it is said that for one who is powerful like the sun or the fire, there is no consideration of purity or impurity. Prabhupada says in this purport, the 19th, the sunshine can sterilize an impure place. Whereas, if someone else were to pass such a place, he would be affected. So one should not try to imitate Lord Shiva. One should strictly follow one's prescribed occupational duties. So one should never vilify a great personality like Lord Shiva. So Sati's father, Prabhupada, instead of saying Daksha, he says Sati's father was under the impression that he was exalted in both prestige and opulence, and that he had offered his daughter to a person who was not only poor, but devoid of all culture. So much insult he was giving, right, Daksha? So her father might have been thinking that although she was a chaste woman, greatly adherent to her husband was in a deplorable condition. So to counteract such thoughts, no, Sati said that the opulence possessed by her husband could not be understood by materialistic persons like Daksha. And also his followers also, they cannot understand. Because they were flatterers, and they were engaged in fruitive activities. Whereas she says her husband's position was different. She says, Lord Shiva, he possessed all opulences, but he did not like to exhibit them. And therefore, such opulences are called avyakta, unmanifested. But if required, simply by willing, Lord Shiva can show his wonderful opulences. So whether or not King Daksha and his flatterers could understand the position of Lord Shiva, Sati wanted to impress upon her father that he should not think her husband to be without opulence. See, Lord Shiva is the greatest of all devotees. He's the greatest devotee of Vishnu. That's why it's given Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu. Shambhu, Lord Shiva, is the greatest of all the devotees of Lord Vishnu. And Sati's behavior is exemplary because no one should tolerate the blasphemy against Lord Vishnu or his devotee. So Sati is aggrieved. She is very much aggrieved for not for a personal association with Lord Shiva, but because her body is related with that of Daksha. And who is an offender? at the Lord's lotus feet. So she feels herself to be condemned because of the body given to her by her father Daksha. See, Sati's body also was not ordinary. But still, she decided to give it up because it was a source of unhappiness because of its connection with Daksha. So this severe example set by Sati is to be followed. Prabhupada says one should be extremely careful about associating with persons who are not respectful to the higher authorities. One should be very, very extremely careful about associating with persons who are not respectful to the higher authorities. Therefore, it is instructed in Vedic literature that one should always be free from association of atheists and non-devotees. And they should try to associate with devotees. Because by the association of a devotee, one can be elevated to the platform of self-realization. So this injunction is stressed in many places in Bhagavatam. So if one wants to be liberated from the clutches of material existence, then one has to associate with great souls. And if one wants to continue one's material existential life, then one may associate with persons who are materialistic. The materialist way of life is based on sex life. So, both by becoming addicted to sex life and associating with persons who are addicted to sex life are condemned in the Vedic literature. Because such association will simply interfere with one's spiritual progress. However, association with great personalities or devotees who are great souls, it will elevate one to the spiritual platform. So Sati Mata decided to quit the body she had obtained from Daksha's body. And she wanted to transfer herself to another body so that she might have completely uncontaminated association with Lord Shiva later on. And now she feels contaminated because of Daksha. Of course, Prabhupada says it is to be understood that in a next life, she would take birth as daughter of Himalayas, Parvati. Then she would again accept Lord Shiva as her husband. So Sati and Lord Shiva are eternally related. Even after she changes the body, the relationship is never broken. See the offenses, right? Blasphemy, offending a devotee, Supreme Lord Krishna, or Vaishnavas. So in Chaitanya Chaitamrita Adi 8.24, Krishna Nama Kare Aparadhera Vichara, Krishna Balile Aparadhere Na Haya Vikara. The translation says, there are offenses to be considered while chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Therefore, simply by chanting Hare Krishna, one does not become ecstatic. In the purport, Prabhupada says, it is very beneficial to chant the names of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda before chanting Hare Krishna mantra. Because by chanting these two holy names, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, we say, one immediately becomes ecstatic. And if he then chants Hare Krishna mantra, he becomes free of offenses. We say, Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita, right? So there are 10 offenses to avoid in chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. The first offense is to blaspheme great personalities who are engaged in distributing the holy name of the Lord. So it is said in the Shastras, see Chaitanya Antyalila 7.11, Krishna Shakti Vina Nahe Tara Pravartana. One cannot distribute the holy name of Hare Krishna mantra unless he is empowered by the Supreme Personality of God. Therefore, one should not criticize or blaspheme a devotee who is thus engaged. Shri Padma Purana, he states, Satam Ninda Namnaha Paramam Aparadam Vitanute Yata Khyatim Yatam Khatam Usahate Tad Vigarham. To blaspheme the great saintly persons who are engaged in preaching the glories of Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the worst offense at the lotus feet of the holy name. So one should not criticize the preacher of the glories of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And if one does so, he is an offender. The Nama Prabhu, who is identical with Krishna, he will never tolerate such blasphemous activities, even from one who passes as a great devotee. This is the first offense. The second Nama Parada is described as Shivasya Shri Vishnurya Yah Guna Namadi Sakalam Dhiya Bhinnam Pashyet Sakhalu Harinamahita Karaha. In this material world, the holy name of Vishnu is all auspicious. Vishnu's name, form, qualities, and pastimes are all transcendental, absolute knowledge. So therefore, if one tries to separate the absolute personality of God from his holy name or his transcendental form, qualities, and pastimes, thinking them to be material, that is offensive. So similarly, to think that the names of demigods, such as Lord Shiva, are as good as the name of Lord Vishnu, or in other words, to think that Lord Shiva and other demigods are other forms of God and are therefore equal to Vishnu, is also blasphemous. So this is the second offense at the lotus feet of the holy name of the Lord. The third offense is, which is called Gurur Avagya. That is to consider the spiritual master to be material and therefore to envy his exalted position. The third offense is Shruti Shastra Nindanam, is to blaspheme Vedic literatures such as the four Vedas and the Puranas. The fifth offense is Arthavadaha, consider the glories of the holy name to be exaggerations. The sixth offense, Harinamni Kalpanam, is to consider the holy name of the Lord to be imaginary. The seventh offense is Namno Balad Yasya hi Papa Buddhir Na Vidyate Tasya Yamer hi Shuddhihi. To think that the Hare Krishna mantra can counteract all sinful actions, one may therefore go on with the sinful activities and at the same time chant Hare Krishna mantra to neutralize them, is the greatest offense at the lotus feet of Harinama. Just chant because, and then after the sins are mitigated, then again you chant, again you do that. No, that is not, that is the greatest offense. Eighth offense is Dharma Vrata Tyaga Hutadi Sarva Shubha Kriya Samyam Api Pramadaha. It is offensive to consider the chanting of Hare Krishna mantra to be a religious, ritualistic ceremony. No. Performing religious ceremonies, following vows and practicing renunciation and sacrifice are all materialistic auspicious activities, whereas Hare Krishna mantra is not. So chanting of Hare Krishna mantra must not be compared to such materialistic religiosity. This is an offense at the lotus feet of the holy name of the Lord. The ninth offense is Ashraddha Dhane Vimukhe Api Asranmati Yashchopadeshaha Shivanama Pradaha Aparadaha. It is an offense to preach the glories of holy name among persons who have no intelligence or no faith in the subject matter. So no need to tell them. So such people should be given, see, but Prabhupada says, such people should be given the chance to hear the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. See, in the beginning, they should not be instructed about the glories of the spiritual recognition of the holy name. Just chant and let them hear. That's it. So by constant hearing of the holy name, their hearts will be purified, and then they will be able to understand the transcendental position of the holy name. So it is an offense to preach glories, instruct them and all those. No need. Just so that is the ninth offense. And the 10th is Shute api nama mahatmaye ya priti rahito narah aham mamadi paramo namni sopya aparada krit. If one has heard the glories of the transcendental holy name of the Lord, but nevertheless continues in a materialist concept of life, so he is hearing, doing it, but still continues in material concept of life, thinking, I am this body, and everything belonging to this body is mine, aham mameti, right? And does not show respect and love for the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, that is an offense. These are 10 offenses. In the nectar of instruction, number 6, it says, when one thus criticizes a pure devotee, he commits an offense, Vaishnava Aparad. And that is very obstructive and dangerous for those who desire to advance in Krishna consciousness. A person cannot derive any spiritual benefit when he offends the lotus feet of a Vaishnava. So everyone should therefore be very careful not to be jealous of an empowered Vaishnava or a Shuddha Vaishnava. Especially all the gurus, spiritual masters, we should not be offensive. So in one of the lectures, as we saw, right, we are not supposed to tolerate, one question was given to Prabhupada, we are not supposed to tolerate any blaspheming of the Lord or his name or in any way his devotees. So how are we supposed to not tolerate this? How can we do that? See, Prabhupada says, the demons will always do that. You just chant Hare Krishna. You remember Krishna. That's what Prabhupada says was, you remember Krishna, that's all. And he further says, the rule is that when there is blasphemy, offenses and insult of your devotees, when there is blasphemy, there are three kinds of activities. First thing is that one who is blaspheming, you should argue and defeat him by your arguments, by your evidences. And if you are unable to do that, then you should die. That is the injunction. That's the first point. And if you are unable to do that, then you should go away from that place. That's all. So three things, First of all, you should fight with him. Then if you are unable to fight, then you should die. And if you are not able to die, then leave that place and go away. That's why the nectar of devotion 9, the chapter 9 is further consideration of devotional principles. And that was blasphemy. It speaks about blasphemy. It says, one should not tolerate blasphemy with the Lord or his devotees. And in this connection, in the 10th canto, 74th chapter, verse number 40 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadeva Goswami tells Parikshit Maharaj, my dear king, if a person, please hear, my dear king, if a person, after hearing blasphemous propaganda against the Lord and his devotees, does not go away from that place, he becomes bereft of the effect of all pious activities. He says, my dear king, if a person, after hearing the blasphemous propaganda against the Lord and his devotees, even after hearing, if it does not go away from that place, he becomes bereft of all the effect of all pious activities. See, in one of Lord Chaitanya's Shikshashtaka verses, it is stated, right? The devotee should be more tolerant than a tree and more submissive than the grass. And he should offer all honor to others, but may not accept any honor for himself. So, in spite of Lord Chaitanya's being so humble and meek as a devotee, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was informed about the injuries inflicted on the body of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, he immediately ran to the spot and wanted to kill the offender, Jagai and Madai. So, this behavior of Lord Chaitanya is significant. That a Vaishnava may be very tolerant and meek, foregoing everything for his personal honor. But when it is question of the honor of Krishna or his devotee, he will not tolerate any insult. So there are three ways of dealing with such insults. If someone is heard blaspheming by words, one should be so expert that he can defeat the opposing party by argument. And if he is unable to defeat the opposing party, then the next step is that he should not just stand there meekly, but should give up his life. The third process is followed if he is unable to execute these two processes. That is, he must leave the place and go away. So if a devotee does not follow any of these three processes, he falls down from his position of devotion. In Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela 1.35 purport, Prabhupada says, Srila Jiva Goswami, in his thesis Bhakti Sandarbha 202, he has stated that uncontaminated devotional service is the objective of pure Vaishnavas. Uncontaminated devotional service. And that one has to execute such service in the association of other devotees. Right. So, by associating with devotees of Lord Krishna, one develops a sense of Krishna consciousness. Thereby, he becomes inclined towards loving service. So, this is a process of approaching the Supreme Lord by gradual appreciation in devotional service. So, if one desires unallowed devotional service, one must associate with devotees of Sri Krishna. By such devotion association, then only a conditioned soul can achieve a taste, for transcendental love, and thus thereby he can revive his eternal relationship with Krishna. If one develops love for Krishna and by Krishna conscious activities, one can know the supreme absolute truth. But he who tries to understand God simply by logical arguments, he will not succeed, nor he will get a taste for this unallowed devotion. The secret is that one must submissively listen to those who know perfectly the science of God. And one must begin the mode of service regulated by the spiritual master. So, a devotee already attracted by the name, form, qualities of the Supreme Lord, he may be directed to specific manner of devotional service. So, he do not waste time in approaching Lord through logic. The expert spiritual master, he knows well how to engage the disciples' energy in the transcendental loving service to the Lord. And so he engages the devotee in specific devotional service according to his special tendency. So in the book, A Second Chance, number 13, Prabhupada in the Bhagavatam referring 11, 17, 27, where Krishna says, Acharya Mam Vijaniyan Now Manyet Karhichit Na Martya Buddhya Suyeta Sarvadeva Mayo Guruhu. One should know the Acharya as myself and never disrespect him in any way. One should not envy him, thinking him an ordinary person, ordinary man, or he is a representative of all the demigods. So thinking the spiritual master as an ordinary person and envying him are causes of a devotee's falling down. Devotional service requires training under the guidance of a spiritual master. And this guidance is received when one surrenders to the spiritual master, inquires from him, and renders service to him. But these are impossible for one who envies the spiritual master. That's why in the purport of 322.7, Srila Prabhupada refers, wherein he says, Srila Rupa Goswami has given directions in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu on how to accept a bona fide spiritual master, how to deal with him. First, the desiring candidate must find a bona fide spiritual master. And then he must be very eagerly receiving the instructions from him and execute them. So this is a reciprocal service. A bona fide spiritual master or saintly person always desires to elevate a common man who comes to him. Because everyone is under the clutches of Maya and is forgetful of his primary duty. No, that is Krishna. Actually, it is Krishna consciousness. So saintly person always desires that everyone become a saintly person. So it's a function of a guru to invoke that Krishna consciousness in every forgetful common man. See, Manu, he said that since he was advised and instructed by Kardamuni, he was very much favored. He considered himself lucky to receive the message by oral reception. So, one should be very inquisitive to hear with open ears. Inquisitive to hear through open ears from authorized source of the bona fide spiritual master. So, how is one to receive this? One should receive the transcendental message by oral reception. That's the word karna randharahi. Randharahi means through the holes of the ears. So the favor of the spiritual master is not received through any other part of the body but the ears. So this does not mean, Prabhupada very nicely says, no, this does not mean that spiritual master gives a particular type of mantra to the ears in exchange for some dollars. And if the man meditates on that, achieves perfection, becomes God within 6 months. Such reception through the ears is bogus. The real fact is that a bona fide spiritual master, he knows the nature of a particular man and what sort of duties he can perform in Krishna consciousness. And he instructs him in that way. He instructs him through the ear, not privately, but publicly. You are fit for such and such work in Krishna consciousness. You can act in this way. Like, see, for one person is advised to act in Krishna consciousness by working in the deity's room. Another is advised to act in Krishna consciousness by performing some editorial work. Another is advised to do preaching work. Another is advised to carry out Krishna consciousness in the cooking department. See, there are different departments of activity in Krishna consciousness. And a spiritual master, knowing the particular ability of a particular man, it trains him in such a way that by his tendency to act, he becomes perfect. So Bhagavad Gita, it makes it very clear that one can attain the highest perfection of spiritual life simply by offering service according to his ability. Just as Arjuna served Krishna by his ability in the military art, right? Arjuna offered his service fully as a military man and he became perfect. Similarly, an artist can attain perfection simply by performing artistic work under the direction of the spiritual master. If one is a literary man, he can write articles and poetry for the service of the Lord under the direction of the spiritual master. Very important. Not by himself. One has to receive the message of the spiritual master regarding how to act in one's capacity. For the spiritual master is expert in giving such instructions. So this combination, the instruction of the spiritual master and the faithful execution of the instruction by the disciple makes the entire process perfect. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura describes in his explanation of this verses in Bhagavad Gita, Vyavasatmika buddhi, that one who wants to be certain to achieve spiritual success must take the instruction from spiritual master as to what his particular function is. He should faithfully try to execute that particular instruction and should consider that his life and soul. So the faithful execution of the instruction which he receives from the spiritual master is the only duty of a disciple, and that will bring him perfection. So one should be very careful to receive the message from the spiritual master through the years and execute it faithfully. And that will make one's life successful. So the holy name is so powerful that it must act. Prabhupada says in purport of Chaitanya Charitamrita Antelila 3.60 purport, the holy name is so powerful that it must act. It must act. But when utters the holy name with offenses, its action will be delayed. It's not it goes off, its action will be delayed, not immediate. Although in favorable circumstances, the holy names of the Lord act very quickly. Now in the current, we're discussing 18, we saw the 17th, 18th verse, where in the purport Prabhupada says, since Sati was the representation of the external potency of the Lord, it was in her power to vanquish many universes, including many Dakshas. But in order to save her husband from the charge that he employed his wife Sati to kill Daksha, because he could not do so due to his inferior position, she decided to give up her body. That's why in 4.7.59 purport, it says, according to verse of the Vedic mantras, Parasya Shaktir Vidadhaiva Shruyate. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has different varieties of energies. Shakti is feminine, and the Lord is Purusha, masculine. So it is duty of the female to serve under the Supreme Purusha. So as it is given in Bhagavad Gita, all living entities are marginal energies of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, it is duty of all living entities to serve this Supreme Person. Now, Durga is a representation in the material world of both the marginal and external energies. And Lord Shiva is a representation of the Supreme Person. So the connection of Lord Shiva and Durga is eternal. So Sati could not accept any husband but Lord Shiva. So how Lord Shiva remarried Durga as Himavati, the daughter of Himalayas, and then how Kartikeya was born, is a separate story in itself, right? So there are two different perceptions depending on how we cultivate our heart and keep our mind. My Guru Maharaj has been used to insistently instruct us to avoid criticism and concoction. But we think ourselves to be self-appointed judges and criticize everyone. Criticize. And thereby what happens? We waste our valuable time finding fault with others. That's why we saw in the 12th verse, right, in this chapter, where in purport Prabhupada says, there are some highly qualified persons who accept only the good qualities of others. And he gives an example, as a bee is always interested in the honey in the flower and does not consider the thorns and colors. So, the best good soul is one who accepts the insignificant asset of a person and magnifies that good quality. See, in the pastime of killing Putana, we find Krishna accepted the motherhood of Putana because she pretended to be an affectionate mother, allowing Krishna to suck her breast. So Prabhupada, with great feeling, glorifies the Lord by saying, very wonderful statement, which we should have always keep it in front of us. The Lord accepts the least qualification of the living entity. The Lord accepts the least qualification of the living entity and awards him the highest reward. Awards him the highest reward. So that is the standard of his character. The Lord accepts the least qualification of the living entity and awards him the highest reward. That is the standard of his character. With regard to King Putana. Putana came to kill him, but he was given the highest reward. The Supreme Lord is Supreme Controller and proprietor of everything. And he is the Supreme Judge also. Yet he accepts the goodness of others' qualities and magnifies it. So, where is my insignificant position? What is the authority I have to judge others' bad qualities? This we should introspect. See, by simply looking at the faults of others with a magnifying glass and unnecessarily considering their good qualities to be bad, we become the lowest of fallen souls. So let us fall at the feet of Guru, Shri Prabhupada and Krishna, right? Give us the knowledge that at least good sense prevails upon us. So we should earnestly pray. And a very nice statement my Guru Maharaj said, if you see good in everybody, ultimately you become good. If you see bad in everybody, ultimately you become bad. See, we also see that Lord Krishna accepted the motherhood of Putana, right? That's what we saw. Highest reward. See, sometimes we brood and worry over things which are completely beyond our control and not related to us also much. And spend a lot of time in discussing and sometimes arguing with others. Also, we think a lot about actions or growth of other people who will not listen to us and not even connected to us. So the fact is, we all have our boundaries, within which we can influence and make a difference. The more we worry for things beyond our boundary, we will waste time and energy. And we cannot focus properly on what is within our boundary. Also, it brings a lot of anxiety and stress, which is very much avoidable. See, I read a joke related to this where a patient meets a doctor complaining about his stomach related problems. So, after the diagnosis, the doctor said it is mainly due to stress and anxiety and asked why that patient is always in anxiety. Now, the patient replied, in my house, for major things, I make decision and give my opinion. In small things, my wife makes decisions. Maybe this is a reason for my anxiety. Now the doctor asked for more explanation of this. So the patient he answered, in major things like how the Indo-Pak relation to be improved, how global warming is to be controlled, how to revive global economy, I give my opinion, and my wife accepts without question. In small things like where to invest my money, how to educate my children, what flat to buy, etc., etc. My wife makes the decision and I accept without question. The doctor replied, the things you worry or brood over are beyond your control and not useful for you. So you will always be in anxiety. And for the things in your control, you're not making decisions. So you need to restrict your worry to things within your boundary. So the Bhagavad Puran 1:13:41 tells who controls the world. Whenever, see, when we face any problems, or we find any difficulties by some devotees, the answer, anyway, Krishna is in control. So it is his part. Let him sort it out. My Guru Maharaj always says, when we ask for seeking any solutions, ourselves or any God brother, anybody's sister, they are having difficulties, how to do what. He used to give this answer. He says, anyway, Krishna is in control. It is his part. Let him sort it out. So 1:13:41 is very nice, where Narada is telling, oh, pious king, do not lament for anyone. For anyone, everyone is under the control of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, all living beings and the leaders carry on worship to be well protected. It is He only who brings them together and disperses them. So, whenever we approach the Lord with prayers or wishes in things not related to us and beyond our boundary, Lord chooses to respond as per His wish and according to the laws of vital nature. So, with our puny intelligence, we cannot interfere in these cosmic activities. So in the final chapter of Brahma Sutras, the Vedanta Sutras, it is said, Vyasadeva explains the glories as a liberated person attains once he reaches the spiritual world. That is, he acquires similar form or opulences like the Lord, but it's not entitled to managing the cosmic activities of the universe. The Sutra, it says, the liberated soul has all glories of the Lord, except that of the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the material cosmos, since these are special prerogatives of the Lord, of Him alone. So from this, we can see that even the liberated entities in the spiritual world, they have no say in the cosmic activities. So how can we have any say? The best way is to understand our boundary and focus on things entrusted to us. So in that respect, sincere practice of Krishna consciousness and performing our material responsibilities is very much in our boundary. And when we focus on this, our unnecessary brooding over things will reduce and we will have more place for the Lord in our heart. Let us all pray at the lotus feet of Guru, Srila Prabhupada and Krishna so that we understand our boundary and act within that, and not be a judge, finding faults, blaspheming devotees, and conduct so many offenses which we saw. So this is what we could learn from this Sati's episode of trying to defend her husband, her good qualities, rather than vilifying her father. Hare Krishna. Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Nita go. Thank you, Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. If you have any questions or anything to share, please go ahead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Yes, Surishu, that's correct. As you do, we'll return back to you. Very nice point. Okay. If there is nothing else, we'll stop here. So thank you very much for joining and keeping the appointment again. Right? Hare Krishna. Jai. One chakra. So Hare Krishna, Prabhupada. Thank you very much. I'll stop here and close. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Hare
Mate.
Krishna. Dandavat Pranam. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.